Welcome to Sports Plaza. With me today I have Vishesh, and we'll be discussing the post-match analysis of Gujarat versus Sunrisers. So Vishesh, this was Gujarat's first loss. They won 3 out of 3, still sitting pretty easy and tight on the points table at number 3 position. But what do you make of today's Hyderabad's victory?
Yeah, I think they have done well in a few matches, despite have not having won those. One was a pretty close encounter versus Lucknow as well. I was in the stadium watching that match as well, in which Avesh had a outstanding spell and just killed the game for them. But they have been an interesting side, and they have been doing some amazing death bowling. If you may see the last 2 overs, they hardly give away any runs. So wherein a lot of teams have multiplied their scores towards the end and given themselves generally a huge boost as they finish the innings, particularly on these true wickets of Mumbai. Um, Hyderabad have not let any other team do that, and Natarajan has been one of the main reasons why they have been doing well as a bowling unit. And adding Jansen and instead of Romario Shepherd has also given them a proper wicket-taking option, which is good for them. But if they are able to get some other proper bowler instead of Umran Malik, who's just playing on the pace quota at this
They
point,
have Karthik Tyagi on the
yeah,
bench.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, also he's also a pretty raw bowler, uh, but if that happens, I think they'll on these kinds of surfaces they'll be the team to beat
Well, they
going
had
down.
retained Abdul Samad, retained Umran Malik. Abdul Samad's already out of the playing 11. Next, you're saying that this third retention also was wrong, and you want to remove Umran Malik also out of the playing 11. But coming to to the losing captain's form and fitness, what do you think about that? He's batting at number 4, bowling 4 overs.
I think Hardik Pandya is an interesting case here. I generally don't think that he should bat that much up the order because he's not doing what he's been doing in the past. Come and I really found a lack of intent in his approach, to be very honest. That he was just comfortable pushing the ball and getting those ones primarily, and even if when he was getting bad balls, he was trying to find gaps. So I thought that I hope he's not spending too much time with KL Rahul because that's what is looking at his game. And it's not that it's the difficult conditions or anything like that because he's played for Mumbai for so many years, so he knows all these surfaces pretty much in and out. And you want Pandya to be swinging the bat really hard and sending the ball miles in the sky into the stands, and that's really the Pandya everybody is interested in. It would be interesting
Absolutely,
if
and
they.
Ashwini is agreeing with what you're saying that he failed to understand Hardik Pandya's approach. He's also giving us some stats that Pandya had the worst batting average and strike rate against SRH. Well, he certainly improved his batting average today by staying 15 not out. Strike rate was surely a bit of a concern, about 120 mark. But with Miller not working, with them losing early wickets, Shubman Gill, Wade hasn't performed in a single innings till now. Do you think it's time they replace someone in the opening slot?
Yeah, I think Wade is pretty much playing as the wicket keeper, and he's had some success finishing the innings. But the problem with this team is that they had a lot of finishers anyways.
Yep.
So they're having finding problems that sort of when we saw the team after the auction, we were like, hey, this team has no top order. There's
Correct.
Shubman Gill, and then there's only number 5, 6, 7 players. So that has been a major concern for them that they don't really have proper top order players or people who can bat in the top four. One of them was Vijay Shankar, who has been awful. Sai Sudarshan actually is a good player, but it will take him some time to come to the grips with this level. It's only his first season. So that's you know they might want to bring in Gurbaz at some point because also he can keep wickets. But I really don't think this Miller experiment is working at by any means for that matter because Miller did well in 2013, 14, 15 to an extent. But let's be very honest, he has been a failure at IPL level for many, many years. And in India in these conditions, he has continuously failed year after year. And unless if you want to take a bet on him, like RCB did with Maxwell, and something miraculous turns up, which is very unlikely to happen. So it was actually a very strange buy for me in the first place because Miller has consistently failed over the years. I mean, I don't really remember David Miller winning matches for any team.
Absolutely, Mirror's form is surely a concern. Even last match, which Gujarat won, it was mainly on the back of Rahul Tewatia scoring runs, not Miller scoring runs. So another question which our viewer has is one question why Abhinav Manohar was not promoted. So Sundar Vese only bowled 3 overs today. Ashwini he did not even bowl his quota of 4 overs and did not open the bowling, which Sundar usually does. But Abhinav Manohar played a decent hand. Like Hardik Pandya and Abhinav Manohar got a 50 plus partnership. He was dropped 2 times, given some chances. But what do you think about this question, Vishesh? Do you think Abhinav Manohar should have been promoted?
Abhinav Manohar primarily in domestic cricket has played as a finisher. He's a strong guy, really hits pace bowling. He's mainly a pace hitter. I think it was Pandya's job to take on the off spinners and send them home packing because he usually does that. Um, and he has been brutal against spinners generally, Hardik Pandya. But again, today was not really the kind of intent. And one of the another major issue is with that they have put their faith on first they put their faith on Varun Aaron, which is very strange. Then
Yeah.
now they have moved on to Darshan Nalkande. Uh, he has been a domestic sensation of sorts, but I think his best is already past him. He was an absolute sensation in 2019. Their spot was his best season, and I'm not really sure what can he do in his T20 game. But even if that you've backed this player, he's a new ball bowler. His most effective skill is with new ball, and I think Hardik Pandya is absolutely wasting himself with the new ball. Hardik
But
is
the thing
not.
is, he's not going for runs. I understand there's sufficient new ball bowlers there. You have Lockie Ferguson, you have Shami, but
I mean,
Hardik
and even
Pandya.
Lockie Ferguson, for that matter, not really the best option with the new ball because there is some help in the wicket. There is some seam movement, and Darshan Nalkande is famous for those booming in swingers and in seaming deliveries and things that he's done in the domestic circuit. The highlights have been floating around that he has done so and so. Hardik always been economical, and he's a smart bowler, and that is why he's economical. But it is really about taking the early wickets and putting the opposition on the back foot, which has been missing from particularly from Hardik's run. So whenever Shami has a great spell, Gujarat start like they are the kings. But else that doesn't really happen. So you would ideally want somebody to have an impact with the ball from both ends just the way Weber Arora has had for Punjab, getting the ball to move, conditions are helpful. Um, Although, I was really surprised that Gujarat is not started with Yash Dayal. Uh, Very promising left arm seamer has spent some time with India as well. And obviously he gets the ball to swing, bowls the heavy ball, and unlike Nalkande and, Aaron and etc. So he has a pretty good experience of bowling in the death as a very
But
good
Vishesh,
yorker
this
as
is
well.
just Gujarat's first loss. I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah,
if
but
you
they have
see,
not really
and
struck,
Shami Ferguson is the first match where both of them went wicketless.
yeah.
And what you're saying is right about Nalkande, no doubt about that. He's a new ball bowler. But Hardik Pandya, you cannot expect Hardik Pandya to bowl at the death. So surely one concern, but once you see the top two frontline seamers going wicketless, that's surely a concern for Gujarat. Coming to Rashid Khan playing against his former team, not taking lot of wickets, getting out on a duck. But what do you think about Rashid's performance?
I think the wicket was holding up a bit, and it was obviously not very easy to score off Rashid Khan. It never is, irrespective. But it was really the class of Williamson and how that was handled. They knew that they can't go aggressive against Rashid Khan. They have to just be very mindful while playing him. and that's what happened. And I think getting 7 and over against Rashid is pretty decent according to Rashid's standards. And anyways, this chase wasn't too big, so it's very well played. But Williamson looked in a lot of trouble, not with his batting, but with his elbow. And
Yes.
yeah, he was not going through with shots. And I've been seeing that from game one that he's trying to play behind the wicket. He's trying to play off the back foot. He's trying to use his bottom hand because his left elbow has always is been not really been great. And the way he when he got out also he
Yes,
was
that's a
just
good point. So that may be one of the concerns for this.
sorry I missed
Also,
you.
yes, what Ashwini is saying that Miller only scored 100 against RCB, and that is long back. I think that is 7, 8 years back. People are still living on that innings. And 16 crore price tag for Williamson. Everyone's talking about that. No one's doubting his captaincy, but surely the price tag associated with his batting is a concern. Coming to SRH's slow start, this was not the first time you've seen Williamson strike at a below 75 to 80 strike rate. I'm not talking about 140, 150 strike rate. But when you go way less than run a ball, does that add too much pressure on the other player batting along with him?
Yeah, I think Abhishek is also finding his feet at this level, and these are spicy wickets in Mumbai area. Even if it starts to turn, it'll always have that bounce. So the seamers always have an advantage. And Abhishek is not like he started to open in T20s, but he's not like a natural opener or something that he'll move with the opening ball and push it through the gaps on the offside. So he's not that kind of a player. He's a fantastic talent, and I absolutely love him to bits. But at the same time, what happening with Williamson is that he's not able to play through the line because of his injury. I have not seen him, go forward, and even some of the drives that he's done is really of the back foot and etc. And he's been trying to manage that, and I think it's only because of his injury that his range has become very limited, and that is leading to a lot of slow starts. They're just trying to tap and run mainly because of his injuries and a lot of shots that he's not able to play.
Okay, fair point. But I still feel like they've not got a target to chase of 180, 190, and they're being comfortable in that. But whenever you have a target of, let's say, a 190 plus score, which we have seen teams putting down, some teams have chased it as well, such a start will not help. Like right now, Rahul Tripathi is actually scoring at a very fast strike rate. Nicholas Puran today, he scored a 50 last match. Today also scoring a 34 of 18, almost a 200 strike rate. And even Nicholas Puran, most of his shots were in the fine leg area, getting those pulls, square leg, fine leg area. You think too much bowling on the pads, too much short bowling for him?
I think it was not. It was not as if it's. It so the wicket is has become slightly becoming used. The square is getting used, and out of all the stadiums, DY Patil is the wicket which tends to deteriorate the most. And if it has happened in the match in the past as well, in 2010 when a lot of matches were played here, it became slower in the sense that the bounce became spongy and etc. And it was not easy to hit through the line. So hitting straight is never easy on this kind of ground, especially when the wicket gets used. So because there is bounce, so square of the wicket is where you can max capitalize the most, and a powerful player like Nicholas Puran, made the most of that.
Yes, that is a concern. You and Ashwini saying that in night Mumbai we could do a bit, and you're saying DY Patil out of all the Mumbai pitches does that the most. So Gujarat loses their first match. Their batting order was always weak. They have Saha, they have Ramana Gurbaz as well, who can keep in place of Wade if they need that change. So I think Wade's spot is one concern because they're top three. They got Sudarshan also very new, just his second match. And I don't know, just one failure. I cannot doubt him on that because the first match he looked very fluent. But Ashwini is asking you a question, which is why DY Patil is not used for international matches in Bombay.
Yeah, because again, so the Wankhede is like a iconic stadium, and with the number of cities in India, the number of stadiums in India, it is us one city does not get too many matches. So the international matches generally go to Wankhede Stadium, and also because in terms of the build, Wankhede is very great in terms of audience experience, in terms of the media boxes, etc. So that is reason, and also Diva Patil Stadium is inside a university, so those things also need to be managed. And
And I was just seeing about Brabant also, which is another stadium. When was the last international match played here? So the last test in Brabant was played in 2009 with Sri Lanka. The last one day was actually played in 2018 with West Indies, and they've only had one T20 international game with Australia back in 2007. So what you rightly said, Mumbai has a lot of stadiums out of that, Wankhede being the most iconic, and that gets the majority of the matches.
And also, it has the best wicket, the best strip you can find. It's always a cracking contest at Wankhede, and that really happens. And the great part about this is that the domestic tournaments which they happen, they usually rotate around. So the famous Mumbai T20 league matches, a lot of them happen at DY Patil. So the playoffs, etc., happen here. It's a great stadium, yeah, but it's not Wankhede. Wankhede is
Correct.
Wankhede.
It's not Wankhede. I think
Yeah,
that summarizes the question very aptly.
yeah, and that things that have happened there, that MS Dhoni six and etc. So it has a lot of legacy and history to it.
Definitely. Even
And
Ashwini is
PCR
echoing
is
the thoughts
more
that
the
Gurbaaz
Brabant
should play
Stadium
in
was,
place of Wade. And then he's talking about the test in which Sehwag scored a 293.
and that was
So,
more an answer to your thing. When the last test that was played here, it was against Sri Lanka, and that's when this happened.
correct. So on that note, thank you everyone. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to Sports Plaza. Thank you, Vishesh. We have a very interesting match coming up. CSK versus RCB. Dhoni and Kohli may not be the captains, and they have Faf in the opposite side, but he's the ex CSK player. So a lot depending on tomorrow's match, especially for CSK, if they're yet to open their account. So that'll be a tricky, tricky game. And thank you for watching. SRH finally has 2 wins. Not a great season for them last year, but them getting back to back wins surely heats up the table again. And let's see what CSK has in store for us tomorrow. Thank you everyone for watching.